Welcome back to Local 64, episode 3. I'm Lennon, and today we have a very special guest. This is my favorite teacher, other than the most incredible Miss Knott. She's a close runner-up. Mr. Allen.
Hello, Lynn.
Are you excited to be here with me today?
I've been looking forward to this for several days now.
Oh, so you taught here at HHS first, right?
Right.
For how many years?
33, I think.
Okay, and then how long have you been teaching the dual credit classes?
Well, I was teaching dual credit while I was still at HHS.
Oh, okay.
And then since I retired from HHS, I think, I retired in 2019, so I guess this is 5 years out, 4 years out. So 33 years here, plus 4 more years would be, you're asking me to do math. That would be 37. And I taught dual credit probably 5 or 6 years as a full-time teacher at HHS. Just part of my daily assignment was dual credit classes.
Okay, so if you retired from here and then you continue teaching dual credit, I think it's safe to assume that you enjoy teaching at least a little bit.
Yeah, I can do it.
So why do you like teaching so much?
That's a good question, and I'm asked that question quite a bit, and I never know how to answer it, to be honest. I like it because I just like it. I enjoy working with students. I enjoy my content matter. I enjoy history. I like history, and it's just a good combination, the two.
So have you only taught history, or like how many subjects have you
Oh
taught?
my goodness. I've taught a bunch of things. When I was a regular teacher at HHS, the two subjects that I taught the most were U.S. history and world history. But I also taught world geography. I taught 10th grade English for a few years. I taught 12th grade English 1 year, which was a disaster. That's a hard course to teach. I taught government and economics in the summertime. I've taught classes for gifted and talented students a couple of times. We had a little class for that population at one point. So I've taught a bunch of different things. I've never taught math, and I've never taught science. But just about anything in the English social studies area, I can pretty much handle, and I've pretty much taught.
So you believe that like people are either like history, English people, or like science, math people?
I don't know that that's true. That
No.
generally seems to be true, but I think we can find exceptions if we look. There are always exceptions to everything. But in general, that seems to be true. It's definitely true for me. That doesn't mean that I'm not interested in math or science. I've just never been especially talented in those fields. I was in probably the 6th grade before I knew all of my multiplication facts. And quite frankly, there's some I still don't know. Please don't ask me what 4 times 8 or 4 times 9 are. I never can remember those. Or 7 times 6 for that matter.
I don't excel in the math
Okay.
either. A lot of the teachers here at HHS are, I think you taught a lot of them.
I taught a lot of them.
Because I tell
yes,
them and they're
yes,
like, he taught me.
yes.
So-
including Ms. Knight.
So I feel like I feel like you have probably inspired a few people to become teachers, or at least be the teachers that they are. So what or who inspired you to become an educator?
Teachers that I had. I had a number of very good teachers through the years. I think that's the way you become a teacher, is that you're inspired by other teachers. And I had good teachers all the way through school. I had good teachers as part of my college experience, and they've really inspired me. In fact, when I first started teaching, there were certain teachers that I really tried to channel because I'd admired the way they performed in the classroom. And to be honest, I still channel a couple of those teachers in the way I handle class from day to day.
Okay, my name is Kayla, and I'm here with.
My name is Lane.
Colton Meter.
And we're here with Local 64. So today we're going to go to different electives and we're going to tell them to teach us their craft. I'm here with.
Alexis,
What class are we in?
culinary.
What are you teaching us to make today?
Well, I'm showing y'all how to knead dough.
Oh yeah, very nice. Get that dough.
Get some flour and you sprinkle it on the table just to like get a good surface to work with. And then you get your dough, which we made with our sourdough starter. and it's no, it's not.
Oh, it's not?
Then you take this out of the bowl, and you just
Oh, wow.
okay. Hands, and you just start pushing it with your heel right here on your hands, and you just start rolling it.
My mama told me I could do this at home.
Thank you guys.
Get lit, get. Okay, stop.
Speaking from experience, I feel as if I feel most motivated in your class specifically. So, do you find it difficult or easy to keep students motivated, and how do you motivate them?
I don't consciously motivate them. I do know that for the most part, students in my classes are engaged. Now, that hasn't been true all along, but if you think about what I teach specifically now, I teach dual credit U.S. history, which is, even though it's a required course, taking dual credit is an elective action. So if you're in my class, you really want to be in my class for the most part. So that helps. As far as motivation goes, one thing that a professor of history said to me one time, he said, you know, the content of the course is good if I can just stay out of the way. And I agree with that. I think that U.S. history is an extremely interesting topic. Now, I know that there are people who wouldn't agree with me, but I think it's an extremely interesting topic. And if I can just sort of stay out of the way and let the content teach itself, I think that it usually produces students who are engaged in my class.
True.
Yo, what's going on, dudes? Welcome back to the section of the video. What class is this?
Listen, this is my class. That's what class it is.
Today we're gonna do some woodworking with.
Mr. Driver.
Okay. Okay.
And today we're working on Jacob's ladders. Do you know anybody named Jacob?
I do know a guy named Jacob. His name is Jacob Hatchtel.
Yes, Jacob Hatchell. You should go see him at Cotton Patch. He's a fine waiter.
Yes.
And takes care of you.
Oh yeah.
The only way I can teach you this is for you to look and experience it for yourself. Somebody take over the microphone because we're going to need Lane's help. What you do is not shoot my feet.
Okay.
And I need you to put it, see how this staple is centered? I need you to center it on this one right
Okay.
here. On this one right here,
On this
Lane.
one.
On this one right here, Lane.
On this one. Okay.
All
Am I
right,
good?
what I'm going to have to use is your brute strength right
Okay.
here. Okay?
Am I good?
Yes.
Oh!
Just kidding, he didn't hurt me.
That scared me so much. Thank you so much for helping me with this, Mr. Driver.
See ya.
ya.
Why is this thing so fuzzy?
The technology question. So, you're
dear.
wearing an Apple Watch right now,
Yes.
and you use Remind. You answer them a lot.
Yes.
So, obviously, you say you're not, but I think you know a little bit about being tech savvy.
You know, I was tech savvy before people were tech savvy.
Okay.
I had internet access before just about anybody I knew had internet access. I was, back in the 90s, I was sort of an early adapter of text, or of tech. Now I feel like I'm sort of falling behind, but I know enough to get by. And yes, I have an Apple Watch, and yes, I have 3 iPads, and you know, I've got more computers than I really need.
Okay, so in the class, I've seen you kind of like, you don't always know how to work your board.
Yeah,
So that's
that's
one
true.
thing.
Yeah.
And then you've been not too happy with my class specifically about being on our phones and stuff.
Yes.
So in your opinion, what role does technology play in education today? And can it be positive? Is it overall positive or overall negative?
I think that it's overall positive. I don't think that it's as necessary as some people seem to think, to be honest. And I don't want you on your phone during my class because I feel like it's a distraction. I'm not anti-phone at all, but I really don't want people on their phones because I want them paying attention to me if they're in my class. So it sort of aggravates me if I look down and see somebody texting furiously. We had a principal one time. Oh, the first principal I had, his name was Mr. Smith. He was actually the principal when I was a student at HHS, and then he was principal for a few years after I started teaching. And there was one year when we had severe budget cut. Of course, we had no technology at all. We barely knew what a computer was, let alone have one in the classroom. But there was some kind of budget cut, and teachers couldn't get the supplies that they wanted or they had requested. And I remember he stood up and said, you know, you really don't need anything to teach school except a chalkboard and a piece of chalk and a shade tree. If you have those things, you can teach anything. And that's sort of been my philosophy through the years. I don't really need high technology to teach. The board that I stumble with so much is we just got those, I think, last year, so it's still pretty new. It's still pretty new tech to me. But quite frankly, I taught fine writing on a whiteboard. I taught fine writing on a chalkboard, which is what I had in my room for years and years. So I don't think that technology is necessary for good teaching. Now, there are people who would disagree with me, and there's somebody who probably wants to reach through their screen and slap me now. But I think that technology can be a good enhancement, but I don't think it's essential at all for teaching, even though I'm generally pro-tech. I mean, my whole house is Alexa compatible, and when the internet goes down or when the Wi-Fi goes down, which it did the other night, I couldn't turn off my lights and all of that kind of stuff. So I'm not anti-tech. I just don't think it's necessary for teaching school.
Other than trying to figure out your little whiteboard, what are some of the biggest challenges that you face as a teacher?
Keeping students engaged. Keeping students engaged. And as we just said, that's generally not a problem for me, but I learned a long time ago that if I can keep students' attention, then I can teach school. And that's why, you know, I'm sort of silly in the classroom sometimes. And I'll let you in on a trade secret. One of the reasons that I'm kind of silly is that I discovered that that keeps students' attention more than just droning on and on from the front of the classroom.
Yes.
So as long as, and this, I think this is true for any teacher, as long as you can hold the attention of your students, you can teach anything.
And I'm here with.
Miss Radford,
What class is this?
choir,
And what will you be teaching us to do today?
how to sing the solfege scale.
Okay, let's get started.
Here we go. This is Do.
Re, mi, fa, sol, do, re.
So what advice would you give to like newer teachers entering the profession based on your own experiences? She's pretty new as a teacher, so you could be talking to her.
But she's been around for a long time.
This is her first full year teaching.
Okay. All right. I'm going to come at your question with sort of a sideways answer.
Okay.
I think that in order to be a successful teacher, one of two things has to be true. And ideally, both of these things have to be true. Thing number one, I think you really need to enjoy the content that you teach. I really think that you need to have a passion for whatever you're teaching. For instance, if you're a history teacher, I think you need to read history for pleasure on the outside. Or if you're an English teacher, I think that you need to read literature for pleasure on the outside, or I think you need to write for pleasure on the outside. Now, I don't know what math and science people do, but I suspect there are math teachers who work algebra problems for pleasure on the outside. Not my idea of a good time. But anyway, that's requirement number one. You need to have a passion for the actual subject that you're teaching. And thing number two, you need to enjoy students. Now, I'm not saying you need to love students. You know, there are teachers who tend to be too lovey-dovey, I think, or tend to enjoy, you know, interacting with students too much. I think that we always have to recognize there's a line, but I think that you have to enjoy working with students, whatever age you choose to work with. And right now I'm working with the age level that I think I enjoy the most. So those are two things that you need to be a successful teacher. You need to have a passion for your subject, and you need to enjoy teaching people, whatever age. at least one of those needs to be true. And probably both of them need to be true, at least ideally, both of them need to be true. So if you're contemplating becoming a teacher, you need to ask yourself if one or the other of those or both of them is true for you. Another piece of advice I would give, I told you this would be a long answer.
Yeah.
Another piece of advice that I would give is that you need to be patient. When I first started teaching, we had an old family friend who was a superintendent of a small school district down in East Texas, and I visited with him about, I'm thinking about becoming a teacher. And he said, well, now, okay, just remember it's going to take you 5 years in the classroom to learn how to teach. And I said, 5 years. I discovered he was wrong. It took me 10 years to really feel like I knew what I was doing in the classroom. Now, was I a bad teacher in years 1 to 9? Well, maybe not completely. But if you're going to teach, just remember that it's going to take you a while to learn what you're about. Now, as far as should I become a teacher these days? Yeah, I think so. We have no idea what teaching is going to look like in 10 years. I suspect that schools are not going to look like they look now. But I still think that there's always going to be a place for teachers. I don't think that AI is going to take over construction or instruction. But we don't know what the future is going to hold. But I still think there will always be a place for people in education who have a passion for their topic and who enjoy working with students. So if you're thinking about becoming a teacher, I'd say go for it.
Take notes.
What's your name?
Couture,
What class is this?
art,
And what are you going to be doing?
teach you how to draw. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We'll see y'all next time on Locust 360. We are Lion Nation.
So for my last question, I'm gonna kind of move away from the teaching part. So on our first ever episode of Local 64, we had Stacy Johnson on here, and I saw a video of YouTube talking about, what was it, the tours of
The Howard House, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So obviously she has contributed a lot here to our schools in Henderson, but also to our community. So describe the importance of contributing to your community.
I think that it's important to contribute to your community. And I may not be as good at community contribution as, say, Ms. Johnson, who's really involved in everything. But I'm very interested in local history, so I contribute there. With Ms. Johnson, we're on the board of the Heritage Association, which sort of oversees the Howard House. I'm also on the board of the Russ County Historical Commission, which does a number of things to try to preserve history in Russ County. I'm actually sort of the Facebook person for the Russ County Historical Commission. I am also involved in a local church. Again, that's not necessary, I think, but that's been a choice that I've made, and that's been important to me. So I've worked with my church through the years to be involved in the community. And I've also served at various times on other boards, like I was on the Friends of the Library board one time, and I taught a course in parenting to a group of adults one time, which is kind of strange, and I'm not quite sure how I got involved in that. But anyway, through the years, I've tried to be available to my community because we're all in this together.
So that's about it. That's all the questions I have. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I'm actually honored that you asked me to come today. And I'm number
Stop.
3? I'm number 3?
Yes. We had my mom on the other one.
So I'm in the same league as your mom and Ms. Johnson.
Yes.
Boy.
My mom said, when I told her I was interviewing you, she said, you should feel honored.
Well, I feel honored. Oh. Okay. Thank you for having me. This was actually kind of fun. So.
Did you think it wasn't
I
going to
actually thought it was kind of fun. So.
Okay. Okay, we will see you guys on episode 4.
Who's coming for episode 4? Can you tell?
Whoever I send the link to.
Oh, okay. All right.
Goodbye.
Thank you very much, Lennon. Bye-bye.